So Ajahn Yanako mentioned yesterday in his morning reflection about establishing a mind that's malleable, flexible. And that's a common theme that comes up in the Buddha's teachings, because that mind that's open, alert, malleable, flexible is one that's fit for developing samatha and vipassana, calm and insight, and leading to samadhi, composure, collectedness. And the one thing that came to mind was a set of simile that the Buddha uses about how we get to there, because we don't start with a mind that's clean, clear, pure, malleable, flexible. It takes the work of the Eightfold Path and our commitment to it to gradually move the mind in that direction by letting go of the obscurations. And to do that, we have to be willing to go through some steps to get there. And actually, that's probably the bulk of our practice, day in and day out, for a long time. And one of the similes that the Buddha uses is refining gold. And he talks about the process of refining gold. You start out with the gold ore that's mixed in with all sorts of things like rocks and clay and sand and grit. And the process is one of slowly refining it by, screening out and taking the rough stuff first, the rocks and the stones and the large pieces of dirt, clods of dirt and clay. And then after you've done that, the next step would be getting out more of the fine material stuff through more refined filtering and time and washing, cleansing. And then you're down to maybe a mixture of the gold ore with maybe some very fine sand and very small bits and pieces of dirt. And you filter that again and wash it again and rinse it out. And then maybe you're left with just mostly gold ore, but it's brittle and it's got a lot of stuff still mixed in with it. So that's when you heat it up in the crucible and burn off the dark stuff, what they call the dross. And by burning it off, you're left with more of a pure state of gold. And then even then, it's still a bit brittle, so you keep on doing that process again, more heating, getting it to the right temperature until finally all the dross is burned off. And what you're left with is pure gold. And that pure gold is what is now actually malleable and able to be formed into any kind of jewels or ornaments or coins or whatever it is that you're using the gold for. That's when it becomes workable. But it's not until a fairly long process has gone through. Same with our minds. We start out with looking at the coarse manifestations of our obscurations, all the acts in body and speech that we're so habituated to, speaking roughly, acting roughly, without very much concern for others, harmfulness sometimes. So we first start with taking precepts. That's clearing out the coarse dirt and stones. And at least we make this commitment to do no harm by body or speech. And then following on that, to a more refined level, looking at what's happening in the mind and thoughts of ill will, thoughts of harming, thoughts of craving, heavy-duty sensuality are the next bit of stuff that we start to clean out through more filtering, more time, more patience, more washing, seeing the effects of it in our own minds and how painful it can be. And then moving on to the next level of refinement in the mind of actually generating qualities of thoughts of kindness and compassion and simplicity, renunciation. And then the more refined kinds of leftover sand and stuff would be the thoughts of family, clan, commitment to a worldly lifestyle without much regard for the spiritual path, but caught up in those memories of family and clan. I also throw into that category just the baggage that we carry from many years, probably many lifetimes of conditioning, old habits that start to come up that draw us essentially away from the thoughts of Dhamma. And we gradually work on those too. And then even leaving just thoughts of Dhamma, the path, which are all very wholesome kinds of aspects of the mind that once we've got all the other ones out of the way, we can turn our mind towards those. Eventually, we let go of all of the actual processes that keep us involved in the world of thinking and planning and cogitating, and then just move to more of the stillness of the mind that we can reach by gradually eliminating what's obscuring it. It's a process of eliminating the obscurations, not becoming anything special. But once we've attained that kind of level of purity and composure and simplicity, then the mind is ready to do the work. It can be shaped into the ornaments of calm and insight that lead us to a full relinquishment. So similar process, and not to make it too linear, because that might be a bit daunting, but we'll go through periods of getting to a fairly malleable state of mind, and then all of a sudden some grit or stones or dirt all of a sudden gets stirred up from some corner of the mind, and all of a sudden you feel like you're washing it again. So you just go through the same process one more time, many more times, many more times. And eventually there is a point where one has really completely cleansed the mind of those obscurations, and that's the end of the path. I would dare say that most of us aren't really there and still doing a lot of refining of all of these qualities, but that's to be expected. It's a many lifetime process for most of us. So, but it's possible, and it just takes that patience of a goldsmith to start at the beginning, and when things get grungy and dirty again, to go back a few steps, start over again, but just keep on moving in that same direction to establish that malleable, flexible ease of the mind. So I'll leave that for morning reflection.